All right, guys. So we have, at this moment, bleached the hair completely, and I had an opportunity to tone the hair. So hopefully on the last video, you had a chance to learn a little bit about toning. I actually toned this hair using the Demi. I used 9BV, and I also used a little bit of 9A. I wanted to make sure that the orange was out, and I wanted to make sure that the yellow was out as well. So some areas are a little bit smoky, like what you see here, and then some areas are very mute blonde, or very flat blonde. I tried to get as much yellow out as possible, but I'm going to do a full coverage on this hair using a color melt technique. I'm going to fuse some colors together. I was able to get my hands on a few colors, so using POPXG, so I'm going to use some Bordeaux. I'm also going to use some yellow, and I'm also going to use some teal. So those are the three colors I'm going to use. You're going to see in a few moments when we melt these colors together how they're going to actually make new colors, which is going to be pretty cool. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and section the hair in 4 standard sections. I'm not going to do anything fancy as far as a style part, but it's very important, like we talked about earlier in the consultation, that you determine exactly where your color placement is going to be. So if a guest comes in and they bring you a photo or a visual of some sort of inspiration, a lot of times when people have these fantasy colors, they have an idea of what they want, or even if they have an idea of what they don't want, it will help you be a better colorist in order for you to put this information or put the color situation where you want to place it. So in my head, I already had an idea of exactly what I wanted. I know I wanted to do a shadow root, especially because we have inconsistencies in the color. So that's something you can always do. If shadow roots could be for a fashion, or it could be for a fix in that matter. So in this situation, because we had so many different types of colors or variations of blonde, I didn't want to take the off chance of it not picking up and not being complete exactly where I want it. So I want to make sure that I'm going to put my darkest color at the top, where sometimes a guest may have hot roots or some unwanted tone of color. So I'm going to drag this color down. And also, it's the color that I have the most of. So it'll give me that opportunity to use some of the Bordeaux and drag it down a little bit without having the chance of running out of a different type of color. So I thought that would be really cool if I just go ahead and use that as a shadow root color. It's my darkest color, and it'll give me an opportunity to create an ombre effect where it gives me a gradient from going dark to light. I'm applying this color, one, as if I was applying a basic color. So I'm going to outline some areas first before getting started just to make sure I have full coverage. I'm also doing full saturation on this. So I'm doing underneath and I'm also doing on top to make sure that I'm getting full saturation of color. POPXG is known to be very thick when it comes out of the tube, almost like a paste. So when applying this color, it's very important to understand that you have to make this color stretch, but at the same time, you have to saturate very well because it doesn't give you much stretchability as far as how far it goes, because eventually it'll start kind of fading out and it'll saturate as a lighter tone. So you want to definitely intentionally give a full saturation where you want to place the color and make sure that right now, since I'm doing a shadow root, I want to make sure that this color is darker on the root. So I'm giving a full saturation by applying underneath. And the cool thing when you apply it underneath first, when you fold the hair down, especially if you're using an 1/8 of an inch subsections, when you fold the hair down, it already bleeds through. So on the top, really, you just have to press it in. You don't have to really reapply color or put a lot more color on your brush. You can just press it in with the color that's left over on your brush. It allows it to give you a full saturation. So that's a cool way to stretch your color as well. So I'm going to intentionally do my shadow root first and then go back and add my other colors, simply because I'm not a very clean colorist. Actually, I like to color, and unfortunately sometimes I make messes. So if you notice, I'll drag my applicator brush throughout the hair, and it's so blonde, it's gonna pick up any color that I drag through is gonna pick up. So I have to be extremely careful. I have a paper towel as part of my SMA to make sure I keep my hands clean and keep my brush clean, because I want to intentionally not apply color anywhere else other than where it needs to be. When you first apply the POPXG, it does pick up hair if you move too fast or move too sudden, and it will spread the color throughout the hair. So you really want to be careful when applying hair color, even if it's not POPXG, even if you're just doing a basic all over color, unwanted color where you don't want it. Sometimes it could be on the skin or other parts of the hair, can always be a nuisance. So you want to be very careful. All right, so I'm almost done with my shadow root. I'm on my last panel, and I just want to make sure that when I'm applying to the front panels, that I'm applying away from the face in the vertical section, especially because this is not the color that you want on your hairline. This is not the color you want to make new eyebrows, or your guests may want all over their face. It does stain, so its stainability is very heavy. So you want to make sure that you're wearing dark colors or an apron just to ensure that you're not getting staining on yourself or on your guest. And you want to intentionally apply the color where it belongs. You notice that I'm very consistent with my shadow root, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit just to make sure that I have enough coverage from my mids to ends. even though I'm speedily going through the process and at a very consistent pace, look how nicely I applied the shadow root without getting it all over the skin, without making up the whole face. I know later on it's gonna drag a little bit, unfortunately, and it will get on the skin a little bit, but when you're doing a color retouch, or especially using POPXG when you're hand painting, try to be as clean as possible with your sectioning, and making sure that the guest doesn't have color or a new like birthmark on their face because of your POPXG had a chance to go everywhere else. Now let's have some fun. I'm going to apply the teal color in the mids because I want to go from a dark color to a not so dark color to a light color. So I'm going to do teal first. And on these mids, I want to be extremely careful that I'm saturating completely. I'm doing a heavy saturation. I want to make sure that this teal really seeps in there. And I also want to start a little bit higher than the line of demarcation because I want to blend those two together. So we're going to melt that Bordeaux with this teal. The Bordeaux is not going to overpower my teal, so I'm going to just drag my teal down to where I feel it's going to make a nice, smooth transition. So I'm going to purposely put the teal on here and applying it higher up, a little bit into the Bordeaux, and I'm going to melt it and fuse it down into the blonde. This teal is definitely dark enough, and my blonde is pale enough to accept this to give me a very vibrant end result. So you always want to make sure that whenever you are blonding hair for the purpose of adding a fantasy color, that it's going to give you exactly what you need. In some instances, you may even have to pre-tone hair so that the your direct dye won't just tone the hair or cancel out colors, and that way you can have the strong end result that you're looking for. So my inspiration for this design was going to be a merman. At first I was like, let's do really cool colors, and by cool I don't mean trendy, I mean like actual like warm or cool, like the tone. So really cool colors. So I'm doing violet, and I'm also doing, or the Bordeaux, it has like a violet tint to it, and then I'm also doing the teal. But we're gonna finish with some yellow because I just wanted to make it pop and like make it scream at me. So we're going to do the Bordeaux, and now we're adding the teal. So I'm dragging my teal down quite a bit because I really just want the yellow to show up on the ends. And then the way we apply this color is gonna determine how much of a haircut I'm going to give the guest or the mannequin, because I wanna make sure that every good cut deserves a color and vice versa. So this marriage or this union I want to create between the hair color and a haircut needs to be intentional. I want to make sure that you see these colors, that it doesn't lie flat against the head, that when I add the layers that they pop, and they pop for a reason, and where they pop is going to show where these colors actually live. Alright guys, notice how I am folding the hair in front. I'm purposely wanting to make sure that the hair goes, or the color goes onto the hair that I only want it to be on. I don't want my blonde to touch the color that's already on the hair and get colored on accident. I want to make sure that everything is very clean. So whenever you're working with POPXG, it's really important that you're making clean sections and you are applying color where it belongs and not dragging color where you don't want it to be, because it will affect your end result. When working with POPXG, it's important that we don't rush. However, we want to work with a consistent time frame, making sure that we're being intentional with our time management, that we are being intentional with our saturation, because we are going through the sections quite at a steady pace, but at the same time, we're not dragging our feet. We're working on our saturation, making sure that the hair is completely saturated on both sides, because it is a disservice to yourself and the client whenever you go to style hair and you notice that you have holidays, especially with that blonde that could have easily been saturated. Porosity could be an issue whenever you are doing this type of service, especially because if the hair doesn't have the ability to take the color in, it will flush right out, unfortunately. So you want to make sure that the hair is healthy enough. Sometimes it's good to recommend a treatment before and after the service, just to make sure that the color doesn't wash right out. You want to make sure that the hair is healthy enough to grab onto the color, and it can last up to the 8 weeks that it's supposed to last.
That one did good, bro? That one did good?
Yeah. I'm doing a merman.
How much are these?
What?
Give me some.
You work today?
Harlan told me I was good, and he said, okay. And he said, do you work today? I was like, I really don't know, to be honest. They threw me off the schedule thing, but he was like, no, you work tomorrow before.
Speaking of longevity for the hair services, it's very important that you discuss this in the consultation to your guests. How long that they should expect their POPXG to last. Don't give them unrealistic expectations, especially if the hair is not in its best condition. Or if you notice that the hair, whenever you apply the color, that it's not as vibrant or as bold as they would like it, if it's very pastel, or if it seems like the porosity was an issue, be honest with the guests and let them know, hey, this is what's going on, this is what you should expect, this is when you should do a retouch, this is when you should come back and freshen it up, this is when you need a treatment service. So whenever you're blonding hair, especially to do fantasy colors, it's very, very important that you give them a realistic expectation, because they're spending a lot of money and a lot of time with you to make sure that this service is everything that they wanted. Don't do a voice on me.
That looks crazy.
Corbin! Corbin! Oh, he's going to feed it to the other company?
He made a beat. And he asked me what I thought about it. I still liked it. It was like, right, so that's what we're working on. Like 2 days ago. This I just did like, but yeah, it's good. Now he's got a tax on my shoulders. So I just finished it and sent it to him. But I could be a magician just to get the files recorded a certain way, and then it was just a huge. That looks cool. You're doing like multi-layers?
Yeah, I'm trying to do like a merman.
Good. That's trendy. I don't know what you. It's annoying and weird that it looks. I don't know how you do that stuff more often.
I gotta make sure it comes out this full.
What color are you going to do next? Red or orange? Or
Yellow.
yellow.
On the end.
What if you do red and yellow?
I don't have red.
Skittles.
Corbin! Corbin! You in the shower? Never mind. You in the shower? Hey, can you let the dog out and let him pee in his thing? Make sure you pee in his thing and put him back. Did you poop in here? He shouldn't have. What? I can't hear you. I thought I played him over here like that. No, because he whining. I'm just making sure you need to use the bathroom and put him back. Don't let him off that tray, because if he get off the tray, he's not going to potty. I mean, he'll potty somewhere else. Oh, man, my last piece and I'm running out.
Oh, product?
Well, that's exciting. What was your song about? Blues?
What?
I said, what was your song about?
Is it blues?
I said, blues.
It was just an idea. It was only like 45 seconds. That's when it just didn't matter. It's called slow motion. That's the beat.
Thank you. It's like fire. Well, then put them back. Is this blanket wet? Well, then he should be fine. It sucks when he You put it on the tray? Okay. Take those wipes, those lavender wipes, wipe his feet, and wipe underneath his belly and put them back.
That lettuce.
Huh? They wanna oh shoot. I'm gonna have to cut that out. All right, now we're getting ready to add the yellow, and this is probably my favorite part. I love adding this part at the bottom because in my mind it's giving that extra pop of color that's going to draw the eye to the end of the hair and not just the top of the hair. So it's going to give it that complete follow through, just to make sure that when you look at the hair, you're looking at all aspects of it and not just like, oh, that's pretty on the top. And you can actually see the yellow is so vibrant and it really makes a statement in itself. Now, the cool thing is about what we were talking about earlier, how we are melting in these colors and we're like going past a little past the line of demarcation to make sure these colors fuse together. We've already learned in our video that yellow and blue makes green. Teal is our tertiary color. It's very much a derivative of blue. So this is going to give me a nice strong green in the middle that I'm really excited about because it's going to fuse those two colors together, melt them, create a brand new color that was almost unintentional, but since I am going up into that blue, I should expect to get a little bit of green, and then it's going to fade out into the yellow. So I'm really excited about that because it gives me a really nice melt. She was like, I'll be happy to refer you to Audra and Cindy. I'll contact them and let them know you want to speak with them.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, because you didn't do your job. I'm completely okay with that.
Customer service tends to be just like that lady. Real sketch.
Even if they tell me the same thing she said, I mean, I guess I'll have to live with it until December. But I'm really gonna be annoyed.
That's okay to say you're upset too to them. Like, hey, I'm upset about this. I wasn't notified, there was no consent, there was no this, no that. Just be honest about it, because at this point, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Be honest about it. And then all she can really tell you is, oh well, and that's not good enough. When it's money coming out of your, you know what I mean? Like, things haven't gotten easier for people, they've gotten more difficult. So what makes them think you could afford something like that, you know? Mm-hmm. Without even notifying you, it was enough time for you to prepare for that. That's what I would say. That's what I did as Indiana. Put them in your shoes. I didn't think that works with pride because it was so quiet at first.
I'm gonna get him a playpen so that way he'll have a place for food, a place for bed, and a place to potty. I just gotta find one. As you can see, right now I haven't actually meshed the colors together using my scissor fingers. I'm only doing an application, so I'm just applying this color right now because I don't want it to be messy, because I would have to keep cleaning my gloves off to make sure I don't drag the green down any further, because I really want that yellow to pop. So I am still applying the color. I'm not fusing them together quite yet, except for when I feather off with my brush. So once I finish that, I'm going to actually go into the beard a little bit, and then I'm going to fuse these colors together to make sure they got a nice strong blend at the lines of demarcation. Ask her to send me the money, and then I'm going to turn around and pay it again. So I'm going to pay that balance off even lower, because my next payment is going to come out of my check anyway. So it's going to pay it 3 times. So that way they can't stop my stimulus payment.
The comments are going to get hit really hard because of what they just did. That's going to hit us really bad. Because it's not safe, it's not safe to work right now.
They should have put everybody on a monthly stipend.
Yeah.
That's what the Democrats said from the beginning. Blear beaching is not something we do in the school, so obviously we not do this. I just did it for like a fantasy purpose. I was thinking like Pirates of the Caribbean or a merman or some type of fantasy look. So I was like, let's keep the beard and let's color it, right? So I'm gonna decide, because I still have so much yellow left. I'm gonna put my yellow at the bottom, and then I'm gonna go up with the colors that I have left and decide to kind of like blend those together too, so they can match what I'm working with the rest of the hair. So we'll see. At this moment, I'm not sure if we're gonna keep the complete beard or if we're gonna just kind of like give it a nice shape up and blend it with the rest of the hair. But right now we're gonna color it, and we're gonna make those decisions later. I know there's one black lady, I know there's one black man.
Oh, I did see the black lady.
Yeah.
She was saying a lot, but it seemed like, I imagine, it just seemed like they probably didn't take her seriously.
Nancy Pelosi is the lady that's fighting the hardest. That's the white lady that was dressed up in the Wakanda stuff. Of getting rid of herself. Let me tell you, she's standing up for people. It was one of the generals. She was in all of Wakanda gear. You can just have them. You don't have to make an excuse why. I had so much fun doing this. I love working with so many different types of colors and creating new colors with the colors that we have. Just always remember that the options are limitless. The only limits that you have is the ones that you put on yourself, especially when it comes to color. You can create so many different things, and I want you guys to use your imagination and express yourself with the hand painting techniques, so that way you can create magic. You can create so many different things using the colors and the knowledge that you have to mix and create colors and the hand painting, and how this is going to all line up. So I'm really excited to see the end result, and I'll share this with you in just a moment.
I was tired this morning too. I don't know why. I was just tired. Freaking viruses going around so fast.
All right, I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. If you notice, I'm fusing these colors together at this moment. I'm not going all the way through the ends to drag that green down. I still want to keep the yellow. Here's my end result. I did round layers on this haircut, also with a round one length. So you can definitely see how the layers pop and how those colors melt so beautifully together. Thank you so much for having fun with me in class today.